In the Antarctic Ocean, 28 people were aboard a ship, but their vessel had become trapped among millions of tons of ice. They had already spent 7 long months stuck in one place. Then, one night, a loud noise came from beneath the ship and it tilted to one side. It felt as if something had pushed the ship forcefully from below. What happened next was beyond their wildest imagination. Welcome once again to zemtv videos. The Antarctic Ocean is a place where waves rise as tall as buildings. Winds reach speeds of 100 kilometers per hour, and the temperature is so low that human blood begins to freeze. Sailing in these waters is like embracing death itself. Even if you survive the freezing cold and monstrous waves, gigantic icebergs can easily crush a ship. But 111 years ago, when technology wasn't advanced and ships weren't as strong, a group of 28 men found themselves trapped in this terrifying ocean. Under the open sky, they didn't just survive for a few weeks or months, but for an astonishing 2 years. Surrounded by nothing but ice, violent storms, food shortages, and no chance of calling for help, their story became known to the world as the greatest survival story of all time. The hero of this story was Sir Ernest Shackleton, an explorer whose mission was to test the endurance of the human body. That's why he named his ship Endurance. Shackleton had already attempted dangerous missions before. In 1901, he joined an expedition to Antarctica but had to return 750 kilometers away from the South Pole. In 1907, he tried again but was forced to turn back just 150 kilometers short of the pole. In 1914, his goal wasn't only to reach Antarctica but to cross the continent on foot, a feat no one had ever attempted. This mission was called the Imperial Transantarctic Expedition. Because of the extreme risks, very few wanted to join. To recruit men, Shackleton placed an advertisement in the Times newspaper that began with the words, "Men wanted for hazardous journey." Clearly stated low wages, bitter cold, months of complete darkness, constant danger, and no guarantee of safe return. Soon, he managed to gather 27 men willing to risk everything. Shackleton had been planning this expedition for 4 years, but as the departure date neared, World War I broke out. Many thought the mission would be cancelled, but Britain still granted him permission to proceed. For such a journey, they needed an exceptionally strong ship. Fortunately, a vessel built in Norway for Arctic hunting expeditions was available. Shackleton purchased it and renamed it Endurance. Made from thick American oak and designed to withstand crushing ice, it was a hybrid ship with both sails and an engine. On August 8, 1914, Endurance departed from Plymouth, England. After several months, stopping in Argentina and South Georgia Island for final preparations, the ship set course for the Weddell Sea on December 5, 1914. Alongside the 28 men, they carried 50 strong sled dogs to haul supplies across the ice. For 46 days, the journey continued smoothly, and they were just a day away from reaching Antarctica's coast when disaster struck. On January 18, 1915, the ice became thicker and thicker until it reached nearly 18 feet. The Endurance could go no further. It became trapped just 130 kilometers from its intended landing site. At first, they hoped it was temporary. They tried cutting through the ice and even attempted to push the 300-ton ship manually. After exhausting themselves for weeks, they managed to move only 300 meters. Eventually, Shackleton decided to let nature take its course and wait for the ice to break up. Now stranded, their only hope was to reach land. Shackleton knew of Powlett Island, 550 kilometers away, but reaching it on foot or with lifeboats seemed almost impossible. They decided to camp on drifting ice floes, hoping the current would carry them closer. They hunted penguins and seals to survive, but conditions worsened. By early 1916, rations were so scarce that the men had to kill their sled dogs for food. Instead of drifting toward Powlett Island, the ice carried them to Elephant Island. In April 1916, after 16 months, they finally set foot on solid land, but it was barren and uninhabitable. Shackleton knew their only chance of rescue lay 1,300 kilometers away on South Georgia Island. On April 24, 1916, Shackleton and 5 men set out in a lifeboat across one of the world's most dangerous seas. For 16 days, they battled 90-foot waves, freezing temperatures, and constant storms, navigating only with the sun and stars. At last, on May 10, 1916, they reached South Georgia, but on the wrong side of the island. They still had to climb 4,000-foot mountains without equipment. After 36 hours of non-stop climbing, they finally reached a whaling station. Shackleton's condition was so terrible that the men there barely recognized him. After 3 days of rest, Shackleton began attempts to rescue his crew on Elephant Island. Several failed, but finally, on August 30, 1916, he spotted smoke rising from the island. To his astonishment, all 22 men he had left behind were alive. From August 8, 1914, when they set sail, until their rescue more than 2 years later, Shackleton achieved something extraordinary. Although he never crossed Antarctica, his leadership and determination ensured that not a single man was lost. Over a century later, in 2022, the wreck of the Endurance was discovered at a depth of 3,000 meters in near-perfect condition, with the name still clearly visible on its hull.